Hello.
You're welcome to Opinion Sharers. My name is Paul. If you can hear my voice, please we ask that you help us share the link to this broadcast. We'll be talking about the performance of the major presidential candidate towards the general election at the NESG summit that happened this week. I think it was in the beginning of the week. So three of the major candidates were engaged. There was some interviews after the presentation, and so we were going to be doing a kind of performance appraiser in that the discussion. It was an intellectual based discussion or intellectual based forum, and so that's why I was interested in us talking about their performance, assessing their performance. After all, they are all, struggling to become president in Nigeria come 25th. Hopefully there's going to be a successful election. So, unfortunately, many of our guests are not here yet. We've been trying to reach some of them. They are just, we don't know, maybe it's Nigeria, NEPA, or network is what is happening to Michael. And a friend who is also supposed to be joining from Dubai is also having some issues. Tosin also called that his Wi-Fi is problematic and he hasn't been able to fix it. So I hope you'll be able to join us. If you want to communicate, if you want to join in the discussion, I probably would be able to take calls on my WhatsApp number. So it's going to be me and Tunde for now. We just do a run around the discussion based on our personal opinion and see if anyone wants to join us. So Tunde, you're welcome.
It's a pleasure. It's good to be back here again. And most importantly, this is a very crucial one in the sense that it's just a week to the 2023 elections. So there are a whole lot of things to discuss. Not only the performance of Atiku B and Ashiwaju in the NESG interactive session. There are many other things to be discussed in the course of this conversation as related to security and issues leading to the election properly. So it's a delight to be back here, and I say hello to our viewers.
All right. Thank you very much, Tunde. So if you have watched those engagement, they are on YouTube. I believe majority or a lot of people have watched it. Maybe not everybody, but then I'm hoping that in case you've not seen that, because that's where we are starting the discussion. Maybe after the broadcast, you can try to check it out on YouTube. I believe it's fascinating to want to compare them. And the reason I was actually interested in this discussion or this topic is because I noticed that when politicians go to the campaign train, they don't have opportunity to express, to talk about what they want to do. Okay, because it is noisy. A lot of people are there, so it's about just going there to wave to your to their supporters, and they dance and they sing. They do all kind of things. So they don't. I feel that it's not a forum, or it's not kind of. It doesn't give opportunity for them to talk. So that's why I'm always looking up to such a forum where intellectuals are present and then they are able to present themselves. And fortunately for this one, after they presented, which is something they could have been reading out, right? So there was a free flow interview, just like an interactive session with the lady who anchored it. So I watched all of this. At least I watched that completely, that of TOB and Tinubu. So then we will run through that, and then we will talk about a few other things that's happening in Nigeria towards as we progress towards the 2023 election, which is coming up. Hopefully, according if all things being equal, on the 25th of February, we just about a week from now, right? Yeah. So Tunde, what's your opinion, general opinion regarding that outing?
Well, let me start by saying that is a pity that the way our democracy is structured in the way that we those people that want to take top job in the country, we don't want to talk about their CVs and their capacity to lead, and that is why they do everything possible. Their campaign team do everything possible to avoid things like official engagements like that of the Nigeria Economic Forum that just ended. Um, that said, these are channels. If we really have good politicians, good persons who wanted to lead, is an avenue for them to sell their candidacy. But simply because they know that it's also a trap for them, the media and the general populace will take that as a trap for them, that whatever mistake they make there or statement that they made in forum like that becomes authentic. They can hold them by it, and so they do everything possible to avoid it. Not only at this stage, we've seen so many debates that will have been called up, even at the state level, at the central levels, that you see politicians who we feel that they should be bold enough to address issues where we choose to ignore it. And little we won't wonder that they don't want issues of debate, election debates, to be a constitutional issue, because so many of them will have failed completely. So that said, I think for me, the team brought up is almost similar for both candidates, both Obi and Ashiwaju. Issues of the economy, issue of security, issue of foreign policies, and all of that. There are issues that is common. I think it's a central theme to all those persons that were invited to that forum. Now, it is very easy for me, after watching that their performance, it is very easy for anybody to address these issues. It's more or less like the common thing that politicians will say: when I get there, I will give you lights, I will do road, I will secure your streets. Those are basic responsibility of leaders. Those are basic responsibility of government. But then what we are interested in is what policy and how will you be driving such policies towards solving specific problems that will lead into national unity, national cohesion, economic prosperity, job security for people, international diplomacy. All of these things, we are looking in the house and not in the maybe the poetry. Because for me, these things that they are doing is more or less like a poetry. It's also a thing that if they should call you and I to come forward to do these things, haven't read and look at the problems, you can by ourselves provide solutions to them. But then for me, I will say I'm not really impressed. I don't want to be partisan here. And most especially that come Saturday, I may not really have that opportunity to go out and say, okay, I'm voting for this particular party, because I'll be monitoring the election. But to talk independently now, the two of them, they've not really performed as far as I'm concerned. Like Obi bringing up the rhetorics of quoting some statistics in billions in dollars, that this happened in Canada, this happened in Cuba, in China. It has nothing to do with us. We are just asking for how. There's issue of security in the country. How do you tackle the issue of security? For instance, let me quote Ashwaju. When they ask him how he will tackle the issue of security, he's talking about employing more persons, which he has said before, employing more personnel into the military. That is not the only issue. In fact, best security outfits in the world. They're not even talking of employing more personnel. They are talking about research, training. They are talking about how they can take their national security into so many other areas. In fact, incorporating national medical national services into it. Because look at, for instance, so that I don't beat completely out of the context. For instance, look at the issue of COVID. When COVID happened, or let me start from Ebola. When Ebola happened, there was this news that we had that the American army, they had as at 1993, they've been doing some research on possible or likely viruses and pandemics that may occur in the next century. And the issue of Ebola was part of it.
I can't hear you. Those Tunde. I think is it my network or your own network? Tunde, can you hear me? Okay, those people who are watching us, please, if you can hear me, can you please type in the comment section? Let me know if you can still hear us, because Tunde seems to be muted here. Oh, let me assume that Tunde is muted. Maybe it's network. Yeah, it is his network. So, sorry for the break in transmission. Tunde was talking about um, the NESG presidential dialogue that happened earlier during the week, and was talking about the performance of both Ashiwaju and Obi. Okay, Tunde, you are back.
I want to believe that it's Nigeria over there. So let me quickly wrap up on that. What I'm saying is that it is not about debating. It's about how to get this job done, how to fix this problem. And that is why we are asking, give us the objective.
Tunde, what's happening again? Oh, okay, you don't stop for okay. All right. So thank you. Now, for those who are joining us for the first time, it's opinion sharers, and today we are talking about the performance of the presidential candidates during the NESG presidential dialogue that happened earlier during the week. The 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 event was broadcasted. I don't know whether live, but it was uploaded on YouTube. So I watched it on YouTube. I saw the interactive session of both Obi and Tinubu, and to be honest, I wasn't impressed. Okay, I wasn't impressed, and in fact, I think maybe now this is just my personal opinion. I think maybe even Tinubu, because there was a lot of expectation from the part of Obi. I think Tinubu did better than Obi. In fact, because there were a lot of repetitions about things that he has been saying, that things you have been saying from consumption to construction. But the question is, how do you want to achieve that? You know, the issue about there is that Buhari has borrowed a lot of money and the country is in a lot of debt. So how are you going to sort that? You say, we are going to borrow more money. How do you handle that? I was expecting that there's going to be some new initiatives in terms of how do we raise more money in Nigeria, whether we raise it locally or we attract foreign investors. These are some of the things that I was expecting, and this is my personal opinion. So it is okay if he doesn't see things like that. But honestly, I was expecting some innovations in ideas, and that's why I say you can catch them. You can anyone that is intelligent among them. It is easy to catch them when you have such, intellectual. When you are in an intellectual environment like that, you understand, and you are having to a free flow talk, whereby you are able to express yourself and talk about this is what I want to do, that's what I want to do. Not just throwing around some figures and saying in some other parts of the country this figure and that figure. I wasn't impressed. I was a little bit disappointed, and I went to the comment section and saw a lot of people also lashing out. Anyway, since we're just you and I think we should also talk about what's currently happening now. There's a lot of politics. I think, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, we talked about the current issue that is causing wahala now, and that is the currency redesign and the scarcity of naira in Nigeria, right? And there has been a lot of politics going on, whereby the Supreme Court say you guys should hold, and the president say he came back and give his own judgment, and then the central bank come and say maybe people should continue to use. So people I can imagine that people are confused. I saw a video in the morning yesterday. There are people were protesting in Ojota, and some people were destroying some places, even including in River State. And I was wondering, does he have to degenerate to this extent before these people do something about it? And then, as if that was not bad enough, I saw El Rufai doing a public address, where he was talking to the people in his state that they should disregard whatever Buhari said and continue to spend the old naira. So I'm just wondering, these people, they want to destroy this country, and what's your opinion on that before I say some other things?
It is somewhat funny, but then let me start from where you stop. Let me start from that of Governor Nasir Rufai. I think it's a treasonable. I'm not a lawyer, but it's a treasonable offense when the president and the commander in chief has given a direction, has given an instruction, if you like, let's put it that way, and you do another broadcast, a leader of a region within the sovereignty of a country now give another instruction, that particular instruction that the president, the commander in chief has given should not be obeyed. It's a treasonable offense. So that one by that side, but then they know where they meet, they know how they sort themselves out. So I won't want to go much into that. But then, if you look at this issue here, sabotage is not far from it. The president that come up with this policy knew why he came up with this policy, and it seems to Nigerians, to an average Nigerian, that they have a snippet of why the president wants to do it and why he's doing it. Therefore, it is also the president that we know, that we have experienced. Don't let me say that we know, that we have experienced in the last 7 years, and those who experienced him in the 1984 thereabouts, is a president that down to the 11th hour, you may not know the next step, what the final step is going to take. And I want to appreciate that in one way, in one part, and I also want to frown at it in another part. This is it. For the president to be this quiet all along, starting from the primaries, even on topical national issues in his government. When somebody did something wrong, take for instance NSAS. It took him days before he came out to publicly say something, and Nigerians would just say, Mr. President, say something. It took him days to say something, and anytime we are expecting him to say something, we meet outright opposite of what we're expecting. He's not a commander in chief that has always met the expectation of Nigerians. That's number one. Two, there are internal crises within APC. If there are no internal crisis in APC, it's not done all across the world that the party in government that has a candidate running in a major election will bringing up policies that will make life unbearable for people at the 11th hour towards the election, bringing up policies that will be causing crisis within that same party. It means that there are crises within the party. Judging from what Erufai did, judging from some statement that has come out of from the APC presidential candidate and other people pro Ashiwaju supporters, it means that there are issues. But then they are trying to cover it as if there is no issue. The candidate will come out, say half, and when next he meet the president, he will allow the president, clap for the president. The president will take action, is less of talk. He take a bit action, he will pinch, so that when the candidate here feel the pinch, the president will also attend another rally and raise up his hand. Are you getting the politics? Now, the president have nothing to lose. But he didn't want to be seen as a saboteur. He didn't want to spearhead over a country in the next, when he has just less than 3 months. He didn't want to spearhead over a country that we end up in chaos.
But he's the one creating the chaos.
He's the one creating the chaos. But if you are not looking at him closely, you will not know that he's the one creating the chaos. Now, let's go to the speech that he delivered about 2 or 3 days ago. For me, though lawyers and legal professionals have been saying all sorts that the case is still in the courts, the president have no constitutional right to have gone ahead to make pronouncements when the case is still in court, in the Supreme Court for that matter. But I'm looking at it from this way. I want to believe that the president knew that this thing that I want to do, the politicians will not like it, because politicians need money to run elections. I don't want to say to buy votes. But come to think of it, we are in the 21st century. Why must you need cash to run election? Why?
But wait. Let me do the advocate of whatever. I learned that you and I were from Ekiti now. Okay,
Yes.
there are places where POS might not even be working. In fact, me there, I reached out to you now. There were times a week ago that I was trying to access my account that has no access to it. Yesterday, somebody was telling me that he has sent money from his bank to his own first bank. 24 hours, the money has still not delivered. He said he needed that money and he did not have a ATM card for that account. So he transferred the money from that account to the one that has the ATM, which is First Bank. That he was going to the city to buy something. Unfortunately, the money did not deliver. Even till this morning, was still sending me a message that the money has still not entered. He went to Twitter to find out maybe it is the First Bank or the Second Bank. And then he found out that there is a list of people that have been complaining about First Bank in the last 1 week. Okay, so First Bank is one of the biggest banks in Nigeria. All right, if I would recommend the bank, I would say First Bank. You understand? So, and the transfer is not going. That is in Abuja. Okay, now what do you talk about people in Ijelu or in Omu, where election is also going to take place? In fact, Ijelu Omu is still perhaps a modern place when you compare it to some other rural places in the north. Do you understand?
See, let me cut in there. Let me cut in there. Me. Are you with me? Let me cut in there.
Oh yeah, speak.
Okay. This is it. I was telling my auntie this afternoon. In the last 2 years, I've barely spent in any month 10% of my salary by cash. For you to know that Nigeria has grown in terms of doing online transactions in the last 2 decades, and it looks seamless before this policy came in. Therefore, you should understand that the issue of no network in the banking sector is deliberate. It is deliberate. When probably from the side of the bankers, the commercial banks, to save their head. Do you understand? Let me give you an instance. I use Zenith Bank. Since on the second I received my salary, today is 18th. It was only yesterday that I have to go and queue a very long queue in Ikeja to be able to cash just 10,000. And they told me the maximum I can collect from my account is 10,000. That I went to queue to get 10,000 out of my salary since on the second. It wasn't at this, it has never been this bad. But then, this policy is not favoring some class, and that class is the class of the politicians. It is the citizens that are supposed to be crying, but it's the politicians that are crying the loudest.
Is it not affecting you? Who is an ordinary man? Are you a politician?
I am saying that this they cry. Nigerians, ordinary Nigerians, they don't cry as much as the politicians are crying.
Because we
They,
don't have they you see the politicians can call they can call what do you call it? They can they can invite journalists who will put voice, I mean, add volume to their voice, right? But you and I are here, we are talking our own. How many people are listening to us? Or maybe when maybe we are talking on the phone, you complain to your friend, you call Michael and say, oh boy, I am frustrated though. I've been in the this is his money. But people like Erufai can call all the Nigerian news media. That's why that's just the volume. Do you understand? See, I
but
have
we
written an
expected them
article.
not to be crying.
Yeah,
But we are
see, the
expecting
truth,
them not to be crying at this point.
maybe that's the problem that you have. It is distrust. Okay, we already distrust
The
these
cry,
politicians.
the, the
We
cry
already
is different.
distrust them. We already distrust them and
The,
say, oh, they cannot be fighting on our behalf. So even though they now say, oh, we are fighting on the behalf of the people, we think, oh, they cannot be on our behalf because they are selfish. You understand? We already have a mindset about the politicians, that they cannot be trusted. Just like some people think, oh, initially when I heard about this policy, honestly, I quickly went and wrote an article, and said that this thing, I saw it done in India, that it can be done, that it will be good and all of those things. But eventually, I didn't even calculate that this is towards the presidential election, you know that it could actually lead to this kind of challenges that is happening now. I thought maybe it's just that they are going to print as much money as they are taking in, so that everybody would have access to their money, and people who wants to use the mobile banking also will be able to use it, And so if see today, now we are talking about presidential candidates and their performance in terms of what they say they would do and what we think, how serious we think they are. If you are coming with a policy, like I was saying, Obi said he wants to take the country from consumption to construction. I've been waiting. Uh, to
consumption to
production.
production.
Okay, consumption
Yeah.
to production. And you cannot tell me how you will do it. Just like this policy also. If they bring the policy, it looks good. People like me were going to write article and say, yeah, people should calm down. That it is something good. Eventually, it messed me up too. For almost 1 week, I was trying to access my money. I was sweating here inside AC. I was wondering what's happening now. I called somebody that I know who was in the bank. I said, I've been Nigeria at the bankrupt. Maybe there's no longer money in the country. That's why all of this thing is happening. This is me who is educated, who is, you understand? Compared to other people, some people will see me as an elite, okay? My mom was wondering, say she also cannot access her money in the village. You understand? So how much more, every other person? So we cannot say, oh, it doesn't affect because we hate these politicians. That's the fact. We hate them. Okay? And then we say, because people, and I'm going to be, sound a little bit, I don't know, maybe some people may not like it. People who are thinking this is going to work against Atiku and Tinubu, they now think, oh, this is good. The same Buhari that they call names, they are not saying Buhari is a good person. Buhari know what he's doing. This same Buhari that we have said doesn't know what he's doing. Yeah, Buhari know what he's doing. I mean, Are we better than the politicians if we do like that? We are double faced. Is it not the same Buhari when that say people should go and kill the people? Anyway, we didn't know who gave the order, but we know that governor does not have access to the Nigerian military. Okay, and we have videos proving that some people went and shoot at people at the toll gate. Yet it took Buhari 3 or 4 days to come and say, even to come and say, okay, let me talk to them. And when he was going to talk, what did he say? He said, these boys, they want to overthrow me. That same Buhari is still the same person. The same Buhari that people call Jubri. They say he has died, though. It's the same Buhari they announce, he knows what he's doing. Kai. Something is wrong with us. So you don't think people who are doing that are better than El Rufai? No, come on. Are you still there, Tunde? People like say you don't froze, though. Anyway, just in case you're still watching us, what we are talking about is the performances of. Okay, Tunde, you are back, right? You're muted. You have to unmute. Unmute. Okay, I think today has been having some challenges with his network. So please stay with us. Let him fix his network and then we will continue the discussion. We've been talking about some of the things that is happening in Nigeria, including this topic that you see on the screen, which is the performance of presidential candidates during the NESG presidential dialogue that happened earlier in the week. So we're talking about the performances of, especially focusing on Obi and Tinubu. And then we talked about the Naira redesign and President Buhari's recent position about, that people should continue to spend only 200 Naira while others are to be stopped. And then we talked about El Rufai's broadcast, which today described as treasonable. And then we were also looking at what might be responsible for the scarcity, or whether it's actually whether it makes sense or it doesn't make sense. These have been some of the things we have been talking about. So Tunde, I don't know whether Tunde would be able to join again. But the bottom line as regards that NESG presentation was that personally I was not impressed. I was not impressed by the presentations of those candidates. They don't sound to... Anyway, okay, Tunde.
Yeah, I'm here. It's
Yeah,
always Nigeria, so on.
all right, you can speak now.
Okay, the like you have itemized the inconsistency in the APC government led by President Muhammadu Buhari in the last 7 years. It is too enormous for Nigerians to just 1 week to election and you believe that the president policy actually mean well for this country. So why do I say that is that even starting from the very first time the president, immediately after he was inaugurated as the president, people were calling on him. We need ministers. It is constitutional that you appoint ministers. It took this man nothing less than 7 months before he could finally appoint ministers. And what did he say when they were mounting pressure that he should appoint ministers? He said they are noisemakers, that the ministers are just nothing but noisemakers, that they should calm down. He's going to appoint ministers. Now, a president who wants to succeed, careless about his team, and said they are noisemakers. So, which minister do you expect to make sense in the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari? If from the onset, the president said they are all of them, they are a bunch of noisemakers. That is one. Two, when it comes to appointment, when he was appointing the people, his backroom staff, working with him like aides and all of that, people were saying, "Ah, leave the president." He was just keep appointing people from the north, saying they are just his personal staff. And his personal staff, when it comes to the issue of national character, will come into play not until virtually all the appointments were made. And again, the distribution of the role to persons also call for alarm. Particular administration, we have nothing less than about 11 to 12 lawyers in this administration. You have somebody like Fashola, though he has tried in terms of maybe the Ministry of Works, I mean federal roads. We can say he tried a little bit. But just imagine the president gave him three departments, three ministries, and for for good 4 years, nothing came out of power, works, and housing. They pick somebody like Engineer Rauf Aregbesola. Engineer Rauf Aregbesola, in the administration of Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu in Lagos, led one of the best works, Ministry of Works reform in Lagos State. And that same engineer, a current registered engineer, you carry him as Minister of Interior. A man like Adefa who has a PhD in war study, you carry him to mines and steel development. Somebody like Rotimi Amechi who study English, you make him Minister of Transportation. Are you seeing the incoherence? From appointment side, we are not talking of all other sides. So it will be just the way you say, it will be too myopic. It will be a learned helplessness for Nigerians. A week to election, and this president says something, and he's doing something that is affecting everybody, and we say he meant well. No. There is a whole lot, a bunch of incompetence in this administration in the last 7 years. Now, let me say this before we go to the next issue. For Ashiwaju not saying some things objectively, maybe I want to make a case for him. Anyway, I'm not supporting him, but maybe I want to make a case for him here. For him not addressing some issues subjectively in any public forum is that he still needs that same bad man, in quotes, to win this election. For any mistalk or misfire coming from Ashiwaju may mean that he's shooting himself on the leg. Therefore, if you ask him, the present administration has borrowed a whole lot of loan that has crippled the economy. So when you get there, what are you going to do? Do you expect him to say that President Muhammadu Buhari has done bad by borrowing? Therefore, when we get there, all those money he borrow, we'll call him back to come and give account of them, and we'll make sure we don't borrow. He will not talk like that. He's a politician. First, he's a politician before running for an office. So being a person vying for office is different from when you are sitting there as the commander in chief. So he's seeking the support of the president and the presidency, the support of Nigerians to become the president. And when he becomes the president, there's possibility you see another Ashwaju. Let me stop there.
All right, thank you, Tunde. Somebody actually told me, was it yesterday? Somebody called me yesterday, a friend. Told me, he said, do you know that, do you know why he gave Fashola three positions? I said, why? He said, because Fashola at that time, people have an understanding that Fashola is not, and Ashwaju, they did not agree. So in order to pepper to pepper the guy, in order to pepper Ashwaju, so this guy you say you don't like Abi, we give him double, triple promotion. The same thing Rauf now. Rauf and Tinubu too. I think they are not in good position. Yet he kept him. Anyway, moving away from that, I think Okay, village boy was telling me here that is it consumption to construction or consumption to production?
Is
Which one is it?
consumption to production. Consumption to
Okay,
production.
consumption to production. Okay, that
But then
makes
I want to believe that there's going to be construction in between before they get to that thing.
yeah, yeah. Honestly, I was expecting him that he will break it down, and say, okay, this and this and this and this is what I'm gonna do, and all of that. But he didn't do that. My expectation was high, and I think a lot of people also were expecting. The only thing that you see in that I've seen so far in OB is just that, oh, he's younger than these two other guys. All right, so that gives him the opportunity and flexibility to talk and give stories and these stories. But if you're an intellectual, I doubt if there's anybody that is an intellectual that will be impressed by all of those statistics. This one, that one happened in Sri Lanka. If Sri Lanka, that a lot of them are suffering. So Sri Lanka that I know very well. I mean, many of these countries, all these figures doesn't make sense to me. I want to see how you want to, put that, and say you are a trader. If you're in the marketplace, there you can say, oh, I am a trader, and then people it will be appealing to them. But when you are in a I see somebody putting phone in your face there. Okay, so but when you are in an intellectual forum, I expected that, okay, you come prepare for that forum, rather than still be the message that you will sell in Alaba market, that it is still the same message you will bring to that kind of forum, So those were my main observation in that. I wasn't impressed, and I saw a comment because what I do nowadays is that when I saw something like that, I go through, I take my time as a researcher. I believe I want to see what people are saying, Thank God I'm not the one that put out the content. When people put out such content that attract a lot of opinion or people who wants to talk about it, I go down, spend time looking at their comments, reading through the argument and all of those things. So I found out that Obi probably disappoint a lot of people. Even some of people were saying, me, I used to follow Obi, but this one disappoint me, he off me. And they were comparing him to to Ajuaju.
Oh goodness.
So,
At times, at times I wonder if these guys actually also watch videos of other people contesting for presidency in other countries, or if they read their memoirs and see the way they address issues. I think the worst of presidential candidate in US will learn to master a script very well, and that starts with the campaign team. You have a campaign team that they don't have strategists, they don't have persons who can put the candidate in shape and design plans on how to talk, how to dress, and all of that for him. They don't have all of these things. They just use it as chop and chop. Just call one Deji somewhere, Deji, come and be my media person. And Deji will one day will just wake up from nowhere. The opposition write something, we just go and like it. Just the way INEC like what Obi said. And they begin to ask, is INEC supporting Obi? And they were making case for them that probably is the handler of the social media handle of INEC, that they know maybe is an obedient person, decided to go and like what Obi. I said, all these things does not add up. They're supposed to read. They're supposed to be following trend, how people do things outside. That's why we have international best practices. If you can import AC from UK, US, and import it to Nigeria, and even when it's raining inside bank, they will still put on their AC and people will be feeling cold. All these things, they know it's the bank. So why are we doing things like this? I wonder at times if these people actually see their colleagues outside, what they are doing.
well, I don't know whether they do, but even if they do, it's about what works in our own climb. What do people want to hear? What they want to see? I'll go back and make reference to during 2019 when Buhari was contesting for the second time. I noticed that people don't care what Buhari say. Everybody, everywhere he goes, Shai Buhari, Shai Baba, Shai Baba, Shai Baba. You understand? People don't, even people whom you expect, excuse me, people whom you expect much from or more from, you see them just Shai Baba, Shai Baba. He hasn't said anything. And unfortunately, that's the way the populist politicians that we have today, that's the way they are too, including whether Tinubu knew Abi Buhari, I mean Atiku, or even Obi who might, come become larger than life now. Obi isn't saying anything new as far as I'm concerned. Only the, consumption to production, that's all. And he has not even said how you're going to do it. I'm not personally. I am not impressed. I am hoping that whether we like it or not, we will end up with one of them. Okay,
And
and in order for me not to have BP as a result of this election, I've already made up my peace, saying, and this is, I may be, some people may not like this, but I have said I hope it's going to be between Tinubu or Obi, and the reason is this: Buhari is a northerner, is a Fulani man. He has just finished. He's going to finish 8 years. So I don't think we should end up with another northerner, another Fulani man. So I am hoping that it's going to be Obi or Tinubu, so that at least on that basis we will not have crisis in our hands. But whether that person is going to perform, is left to be seen.
I think another side that Nigerians are just we care less about is people we send to the National Assembly. We care less about it. Nobody cares. In fact, down to councillor. No, if you ask Nigerian, who is your councillor? I don't know, because a councillor that is probably is a councillor in a ward in Bariga, and he's staying in VI, or maybe he's spending 15 days in Dubai, and he's a councillor in Bariga.
That
So
one is even good now. If he's in Bariga and he sleeps in Lekki, it's better. What about the one that is a councillor in Ekiti and lives in Ibadan or Lagos?
and build his official residence where with every weekend he's going there, or he's not even coming to Ekiti. He will come and spend weekend in Ekiti, or whichever way. But what am I saying is that Nigerians care less about people they send to the National Assembly, and this is very crucial. That some statistics has actually come out from organizations that are interested in legislative accountability, that this particular 10th assembly coming after this election, the new assembly we are going to have, the new National Assembly, we are going to have more of newcomers than more of old politicians, old senators, incumbent senators. And people may think that it's a plus for us. It's not a plus. It's actually a big minus for us, because legislation actually takes a lot of resources and time for a
Especially
newcomer
training.
a training for a newcomer legislator. For the first 4 years you'll be learning on the job. Look at
Of
it,
course.
the first
He
one,
just
the
come and
first one.
put his cap on his head and big agbada and be
Yeah.
collecting our money. He doesn't know anything they are doing there.
Okay, so the first 1 year they'll be showing you offices around the National Assembly. This office of budget, this office of this. Before you know it, second year they will begin to assemble his own team. He may choose to go and have 400 heads. And then they'll be looking for the third year. They will say election is next year. You begin to prepare. And that is why you cannot just go to National Assembly within 4 years unless you've been there before. You think you want to make anything important. No. Now, that is by that technical know-how. We are going to literally be starting from the scratch. Secondly, is that in terms of the bills, there are some bills that they are almost 80% towards becoming a law, that will have helped ordinary citizens, and they spend millions of naira sponsoring that particular bill, because the person that sponsored that bill is not returning back to the Senate or House of Reps. They dump it, they put it inside the trash, or they say they should start from ground zero. All of these things is going to cost us something terrible as a country. Therefore, if we want to get it right, we need to be interested in the people we send to the National Assembly. And that is one of the problem Obi may be facing if eventually, if by, let me say, by chance, he meet himself in Aso Rock, spearheading over a national.
It's going to be tough.
uh having he will not even have a minority in National Assembly. He will not.
For where?
He's not going to have anything in National Assembly. He's going to have zero in National Assembly. So both minority and majority belongs to opposition.
And this powerful governance.
And it is then this time, in this 10th assembly, you will now understand what it means for a legislature doing running an oversight function on the executive. You know that they are the people's parliament. Because if you say A, they say, Mr. President, you cannot say A. You say A again, they will look for a way to impeach you. Well,
We will defend him.
well, I'm
you,
not,
you,
I'm
rem-
not, I'm
you
not
remember
discouraging.
when you remember the first term of Ami Buhari? People say, "Oh, it is the National Assembly. It is Sharaki and Co. that they did not let him perform and all of those things."
The budget
Eventually,
padding thing.
eventually they now have an APC National Assembly. Still, nothing happened. So we will defend him that time. We will say it is the assembly that did not allow him. Anyway, let's go. We have tried today. I hope that we are able to get somebody who can do something, you know. But thank you for watching this. The bone of the contention was that the performance was not that interesting, you know. Perhaps maybe it is because our own expectation is high. Some other people might say they were impressed. I wrote an article about it, and I'm going to publish it maybe today or tomorrow. I wanted somebody to go through it before I post it because I don't want people to say I am biased. That's why I haven't published it. But I guess I'm going to publish it many moments from now. So thank you, Tunde. Any departing words?
Well, I will love to encourage Nigerians. Let us insist on quality. Not
Hmm.
insisting on quality has led us to where we are today. Until we started insisting on quality, we'll go nowhere. So let's insist on quality in this coming election, or the closest, the nearest in meaning. Try to go for the nearest in meaning. Don't just utterly close your eyes because you are a partisan person, or because you are a fanatic of a particular party, and vote for someone who is in your party and you know that is not competent to do the job. In the end, in the next 4 8 years, we'll all be suffering just the way the policy we're having now is a national issue. And even Nigerians who are abroad, they're also suffering it. So let's insist on quality. Is a nice time to be here. Thank you for the opportunity and for inviting me here. Next time, I want to believe that it will be after the election. We'll gather
So
here, or on the election day.
we should be here next week Saturday to do the analysis and look at what's happening on the ground.
Oh,
You said
great.
you will be monitoring, right?
Yes, yes. I'll be monitoring election.
So maybe you will not be chanced. I don't know, but then maybe we can call
I-
you on
I-
phone.
if I have opportunity to call from the field, then it will be a plus.
That would be great. That would be great. Just recharge your phone, and we hope that
But,
network will work. And then at least even if it's your voice, we can hear to know what's happening on the ground there.
mm,
So hopefully, guys, I hope that you guys will join us next week during this same time. That's 5 p.m. Nigerian time, so that we look at what's happening on the election ground. I don't know whether Michael is monitoring, or maybe it would be free. Uh, I'll talk to Tosin also, see maybe two or three of us can be live to see what's happening on the election day. We hope that is going to be peace, that this Naira crisis will not crash the election. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Tosin, Tunde, even within the short notice. Bless you,
it's
bro.
a pleasure.